shiny things on the board. All right, so here we go. So it's a burning question a lot of people have, and maybe you wondered this yourself. You've got back pain, you're doing stretches, you're working out at the gym, or you went on YouTube and got some ideas where it said this will solve your back pain. You're doing yoga and you're doing the things you think you really should be doing. Maybe you started having back pain and you even went back to some exercises that you got from a chiropractor or a physical therapist to try to solve it on your own, and you're still suffering even though you're doing what you think is what you should be doing, right? And what this talk is all about is explaining to you why some of the things that you're doing for your back and neck are probably actually making it worse, or at least not helping. Okay, and then what to do instead. And this is something that I'm constantly explaining to people. And in our small group classes, we do the things we really should be doing. So that's a good way to start learning it after this talk. But it's something that I'm always explaining to people. So I thought, let's just do a talk. All right, so we can move to the next slide. All right, so what I would love to hear from you guys, if we're moving to the next slide, is anyone here have had back pain or neck pain or know someone who has it, right? We should probably have every okay, it's super common. So, so Eddie, you can probably move.
Yeah,
yeah, there we go.
Yes.
You don't need to interrupt it. Oh, you're trying to move that down.
It should be able to slide up.
All the way to the top.
Yeah.
Nice. That's bad. Thank you, Eddie. Okay, so going back, so it's a very common problem. We don't need to get into the nitty-gritty on all of this. If anybody has questions later and wants to have the slides, we can send you the slides. So I put some dense information on here just so that you guys could later look at it if you want to. But in general, 80% of people are going to end up having a severe incident with their neck or their back that keeps them out of work, at least for a day or two at some point in their life. That's a lot of people. So I'm here to try to help you guys not have that happen to you, okay? Or if it has happened, how to keep it from happening again, because it's terrible when that happens. And I can share from my own experience that I experienced that when I was 28 years old. So actually when I was 26 was the first time it happened. I had a severe injury where I was lifting something heavy off of a cart at work. And I went like this because it slipped and I tried to keep it from falling. And I slipped 3 discs in my back. So I have 2 bulging discs in the middle of my back and I have 1 in my lower back. I also have tears in my ligaments. So I have a segment in my low back that moves too much. Okay. And it sounds terrible, right? And it was very, very painful when it happened. And I actually ended up, had to take 3 months off of work because it was a very bad injury. And when I got back to work, I still had pain and problems for several years before eventually it got so bad that I was disabled for a year. And this is all during a time when I already was a specialist in treating people for injuries. So I'm doing the things that I think I need to do, right? And it's not getting better. And I went to 13 different doctors in Orange County, all renowned, well-known names, very good doctors. I went to acupuncture, chiropractic, physical therapy. I tried spinal decompression, you name it, I tried it. I hate needles and I still went to acupuncture. I mean, I was like at that time terrified of needles. Now I'm not. That's all my terror of needles. Oh, yeah. but you know, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and I also went with they did 6 different epidural injections trying to solve my problem. I was on all kinds of medication. The pain was so severe at the point where I was disabled when I was 28. I literally was disabled for a year, unable to work. I was in such severe pain. It was 8 out of 10 pain after being upright just for 5 minutes. And then I would have to lay back down, and I had to lay down most of the time. I would go in the pool just to stay active so my muscles didn't waste away. And I always felt better in the pool, which is why I thought, okay, this can't just be in my head, right? And I saw doctors who said, you know, you're probably going to need surgery in the future. And they're like, but you're so young, we don't want to do it on you now. And then they said, you know, you might need a spinal cord stimulator in the future because we can't figure out why this pain isn't resolving. Why aren't you getting better? And a spinal cord stimulator is for lost causes. That's one they can't figure. They're like, we don't know if surgery is going to fix it. We're just going to try to basically put an electrical stim unit in your spine so you just feel tingling instead of pain. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I wasn't being given good options, but I didn't give up. And I was just like, there has to be a solution. I feel better when I'm in the pool. I was like, I just want to move to space and live in space where there's no gravity. So it was a very dark time. It was a hard time in my life. And I never gave up and I kept looking for solutions and eventually ended up finding solutions. And that's what this talk is about, is learning natural solutions to solve severe back pain. I was able to fully recover. And now I help people every single day with back and neck pain to fully recover naturally. And I'm not going to lie to you, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, right? It takes work. And a very important part of it is doing the correct exercises and doing them the right way. Another important part of it is if you have areas where your soft tissue are restricting your motion, like where you have some movement deficits, meaning your movement is limited, then you might be trying to stretch it to make it better. But think of this. Imagine trying to stretch beef jerky. Okay? It's not going to work very well. All right? And that's what I was trying to do stretches and it wasn't working for me. And the reason is because I had areas where my fascia, my connective tissue was so stuck together that if I tried to stretch it, it was like trying to stretch beef jerky. I kept doing the stretch and I would get either temporary relief or no relief or make it worse, right? And that's a common problem people have. They don't know why. And it's because what's happening is either the fascia and the soft tissue is trying to protect you from something. So it's trying to hold. And why it would do that is because sometimes it's because you might have a joint that's a little bit stuck, or sometimes you have a muscle imbalance. And because of the muscle imbalance, then you have the soft tissue, the fascia is coming in, it's going, oh, you know, I'm going to just kind of try to hold you in place because your muscles aren't stabilizing you correctly. So that's a very common problem. And oftentimes when I have someone come start therapy with me, I'll look at their MRI. And what I look for is something that the physicians oftentimes aren't looking for. I'll look at the soft tissue. You know, I also look at what are the nerves doing? What are the discs doing? What are the joints doing? You know, what's happening there? But I look at the soft tissue because you can see on an MRI if somebody's missing, if they don't have enough muscle in certain places. You can see it on an MRI. And a lot of times medical doctors aren't looking for that because they haven't really been trained to look for that. It's also not really in their tool bag, right? They're not going to give you a list of exercises or teach you exercises to do, okay? They're going to be suggesting injection or pills. And I'm not against doctors. It's good that we have these things sometimes, but oftentimes they're not necessary, okay? And so, you know, it's
long term, you don't want.
Long term, you don't want to be doing that as a solution, right? So it's like, okay, what can I do? I'm here to teach you guys what you can do right now to help your situation, right? So that's what we're going to get into. So let's move on to another slide. Slide on to the next slide. Okay, so a lot of times people think that their pain is being caused by muscles, discs, by pinched nerves, and sometimes that's true. But what's actually true is that they've done studies on large groups of people who have no pain. Okay, large groups of people with no pain. And what they've found is that basically it's pretty correlated with your age. So if you're 50 years old, about 50% of people are going to have clinically significant findings on their MRI or their X-ray showing arthritis, showing disc degeneration, showing things that if a radiologist looked at it, they would say, oh, this explains this person's back pain or leg pain or arm pain or neck pain. But what we know from research is that 50% of people who have these clinically significant findings of any age, from 50 years old to like 90 years old, have no pain. So you can have, well, yeah, because what they did is they took like a group of 100 people, did MRIs on them. These people have no pain. And then they found 50% of them had clinically significant findings where a radiologist would say, oh, This explains your pain
All the nominees.
and numbness and tingling, right? So just because you have numbness, tingling, or pain, and an MRI or an X-ray showed a area that might correlate with it, we have a saying in research. I have a doctorate. I also have a master's degree. So I've done a lot of learning on how to read research and understand it. And we have a saying in research that correlation is not causation. Okay, it's a saying. And so just because your MRI or your X-ray shows arthritis or shows degeneration or shows a pinched nerve doesn't necessarily mean that's what's causing your pain, because we know that 50% of people can have these things showing and not have pain. So what explains the other 50%? That's the question, right? And then what do we do about it? And even if you have pressure on a nerve, even if you have bulged discs like I do, right? Then can you still live a wonderful, fulfilled life? Absolutely. I surf. That's a really intense exercise. And I don't just go out and surf on little baby waves. I surf on waves that are over my head. Okay. And, you know, I can run, I can work out hard, I can do all of these things. And it's because I've learned how to manage and keep my spine like stable, even though I have disc bulges. And even though there's a space where my bones move a little too much at one segment. But it is really important. If I don't do the things that I need to do, my certain exercises, then I do start getting pain down my leg again. I get numbness, I get pain in my back. So I do have to keep doing these things. But the good news is it's not too much. So there's actually research that you can do instead of doing like 45 minutes of exercise all at once. If you wanted to, you could do 10 minutes at a time and get the same benefit. Well, that's good to know, especially if you're busy, right? So I'm a very busy person right now. I'm working, this is not something I'm proud of, but at the moment I'm working like 70 hours a week. All right. But I can do 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and I can put myself up against most people. My core is stronger than most. All right. And it's because I know which exercises to do, and I just do 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. So anyone can do this. If anyone tells me I don't have time, I just say, you can find time. All right. And it's just a matter of selecting the right exercises, because they're probably putting time into things that aren't actually helping, or they're not giving them as much bang for their time as they could be getting. That's a big part of what I want to show you guys today. Okay. And a big thing that people often think too is I need massage to solve this pain. I need pain. I need to stretch to solve the pain. That's not always true. With my clients, we actually do very little stretching. And the reason is because if you have the right muscle balance, then you don't need to stretch. Because if you're constantly stretching something because it's getting tight because you have a muscle imbalance, then you're not solving the root of the problem, right? And a common example of this is hip flexor. So people often are like, I got to stretch my hip flexors because they're always tight. Or people always say, oh, my hamstrings, they're always tight. I'm always stretching my tight hamstrings. Well, if your hamstrings are always tight, it's actually because sometimes they are tight hamstrings, right? And you do need to stretch them. But even if that's the case, oftentimes what's happening is people's glutes are sleepy, all right? And if you have sleepy butt syndrome, which is most people, we're going to call it lazy butt. So everybody's got a lazy butt. It's because we're sitting on our butt a lot of times, okay? And it's because we're not doing enough things to keep it awake and activate it, all right? And if your butt is lazy, and mine will get lazy too, so I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, all right? I have to keep mine alert and awake, all right? And the way I do it is some of these exercises I'm going to show you and we're going to practice today, okay? If your butt is sleepy and it's not doing for you what it needs to be doing, then what happens is your hamstrings and your calves, they go, I got you. I'm going to hold you together, all right? And if they do that, they eventually get tired out, because the butt is supposed to be helping. So your hamstrings and your calves are doing more than their share of work. And when that happens, they get tight, and we get something called trigger points in there. And the trigger points can cause pain, and that pain can actually shoot down your leg even. So sometimes people think they have a pinched nerve, but they don't. They actually just have a myofascial trigger point. All right. And there's ways to differentiate that. So when you come in for an evaluation here, I can easily differentiate, do you have trigger points or do you have a nerve root problem? And this is something that a lot of times, if you just go and see a physician for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and they are going to pop up your MRI, they're going to look at that, your x-ray, you're like, oh yeah, right there's the problem. Well, they're probably 50% right. They might be missing some really important data, right? And then they might do a few different tests really quick, right? The difference is if you come work with a specialist physical therapist like me, then I'm going to spend 45 minutes to an hour going through your whole body, figuring out where are all the problems and what do we need to do about them. And I'll be able to identify, is this a pinched nerve problem? Is this a trigger point problem? Is this a muscle imbalance problem? Is this a joint restriction problem? And most of the time, it's a little bit of all of it. And then we come up with a plan to solve it. All right. So let's move to the next slide. And one more thing too about massages. Massage is great, and we do it here. I'm a specialist in using my hands to help ease people's suffering and their pain. I've invested a lot in learning how to do that. And if you're getting a massage to the same area constantly, that's constantly coming back as a problem, then that is a problem. That means you're not getting to the root of the problem. If you're always tight in the same area, it means you need to do something different. Maybe it's something to do with the way you have your computer set up at home, or maybe it's something to do with how you're using your body on a regular basis. Even simple things like carrying laundry or just chores, different chores that you do. There's different ways of doing it. Like a common thing people mess up their back with is vacuuming. They're doing this, right? You know, they're doing this thing, right? And instead, what you should do is you should dance with your vacuum. Okay, keep the vacuum close to you. All right, don't do this because that's going to be really hard on your back. Okay, so just little tips like that can make a big difference. You stick close to it. Right? All right, or people pick stuff up wrong, right? So things like that can be aggravating your back and you don't even know it. And you might not feel it right at the time, but then if you're doing multiple things in a day that are aggravating your back that you don't even realize, your back might be crying later on. Another common thing is people will have knee pain and they think it's their knees. But I constantly, when people are coming in with hip pain or knee pain, I'm regularly finding, oh, that's actually nerve pain coming from your back. And we need to decompress your back, and then the pain goes away and the hip moves. So not only do we decompress it, but we've got to strengthen it right. So that's why you guys are here. So we're going to show you some things about how to strengthen it right. A really common myth too is that people think if I just rest, it's going to heal and keep the pain from getting worse. But some of you here in this room, I see you shaking your heads. You're like, oh, I know that doesn't work. Okay, it works for a couple days. It works for a couple days if you recently injured something, but then you got to get moving. All right, and so if you're resting for more than a couple days after an injury, then you need to go see somebody who can help you know like which movements are safe to do. What are the right things to start doing? All right. So let's move to the next slide. Okay, I already kind of talked about this. Mini generators. Let's keep going. Talked about structural causes. Let's keep going. All right. And this is, I like this slide because it shows how if a bone is not moving correctly, sometimes a bone will get jammed. And if it's not moving correctly, it puts pressure on a nerve. Okay. And so it might show that you have a pinched nerve on your MRI. But it could be that literally you just have a jammed joint and we need to unjam that joint. And then that nerve's not going to be pinched anymore. I do this literally every day for people. They come in and they're having pain. They're having pain in their back or pain down their leg or part of their leg or just in their butt. And I'll evaluate, is the joint actually stuck? And then I can put it back very gently. So I can do it in a way that's not like a crack, snap thing. Instead, I can do it in an extremely, very gentle way that you barely even know what I did. And then you're like, oh, wow, this is better. Okay. So there's gentle ways to get joints back into the right place. All right, let's move to the next slide. So things that cause fixated joints, injuries. I just treated somebody this last week. Common thing I treat people for. She just accidentally stepped off of a curb wrong. Anybody ever done that here in the room? I've done it. You know, you're talking to someone and then oh, I wasn't expecting that to be there, right? And she started having back pain after that, and she tried, hoped it would go away, it didn't go away, and finally she's coming to see me. So she had an injury and that caused the joints to get jammed. Okay. Muscle imbalances can actually cause joints to get kind of jammed up. Poor posture is a big one, right? And so, I see people stand up straight, right? So that's what happens, as we sit, we start to slouch, right? So that's why it's really important that every 45 minutes, if you're working on your computer or something, every 45 minutes, get up, walk around a little bit, take some deep breaths, maybe move your arms, taking some deep breaths, and then go and sit back down, right? And it's also something I see a lot is that if we don't think about it, we slouch. I was doing it too, if we don't think about it, we slouch. So just kind of reminding yourself gently to just remember to stand up tall. It makes a big difference, okay? And muscle and fascia tightness is a big thing. So a lot of times people are doing exercises and they're not getting stronger and they're wondering why. And it can be because your soft tissues are trapping your muscles so that they can't actually function right. And that's a big problem that people have. So one of the classes that we have here is called the MELT method, ease, pain, and stiffness class. People come into this class in pain and they leave from the class not in pain. And I'm sure people here in this room can attest that that's happened for them. Or even in physical therapy with me, that they're walking around like, oh, my knee hurts, oh, my back hurts. Then we do 10 minutes on the melt roller, and then their pain is gone. And the beautiful thing about that is my mission in life is to empower you. My mission is to empower all of you that when you have pain, you know what to do about it. And I love hearing it from my clients. And they say, oh, I love doing melt. It feels good while I'm doing it. I feel better afterward. And so it motivates me to do it. And then sometimes I have people tell me, oh, I was on a trip. I started getting some pain. I did some melt. The pain went away. Yes, that's so good. You didn't even have to call me. That's exactly, all right, I did my job. Okay, so this is a melt roller. It's soft. It's different than a firm foam roller. Okay, and it's a game changer. So the reason a soft roller is better, number one, it feels good, right? A hard roller, it hurts. Okay, so a lot of people don't want to do it because it hurts, but the soft roller feels good. Okay, also because it's soft, it actually helps to loosen things up better because it can get in deeper to your tissues. And then also when you're laying on it on your back, because it's soft, it allows all of the spinal segments to get just a little gentle stretch. So I have a spine here. And so if your spine is laying on something soft, imagine it laying on that, then you've got all these, you guys probably can't quite see it from there, but you have all these little holes where the nerves come out in your spine, okay? It's called the neural foramen, right? Now, if you're laying on something soft, then what happens is it opens up a little bit. So it decompresses, okay? And then it helps to open up where the spine segments are. So it helps to loosen up stuck joints, okay? And so then it can be very pain relieving. But if you're on a hard roller, it's not going to do that. Okay. So the soft roller is a game changer. Also, we use soft balls, and those soft balls are better than using a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball for your foot. So I see some going, are you sure? But yeah, it's real. It's true. I melt my feet every single day, and it has made a huge difference in my life. Something we're going to get into is how everything's connected. And so let's move down some slides so you guys can see it. All right, so right here is an example of muscle. So has anybody ever seen the shiny stuff over chicken or beef? Give me a little, yeah, right? You've seen that shiny stuff? Okay, so that stuff's called fascia. All right, another word for it is connective tissue. Okay, so the connective tissue and the fascia is very strong stuff. It can withstand 2,000 pounds of pressure per square inch. Okay, that's like crazy strong, right? Now, if your muscles are weak, then what's going to happen is your fascia is going to take over because your fascia is going to be that secondary protection system to stabilize you. So I've literally had runners come in to see me and they're having knee pain. And I test the strength of their lazy butt.
Am I a runner?
on a runner. Seriously, it's so common that runners have lazy butts.
They have a
They
lazy
do,
butt.
and they think they're doing it. He's like, that's real.
You need a trainer.
He trains track athletes.
Oh, okay.
They do, right? They have lazy butts. And you gotta train their lazy butts. You gotta train their lazy butt. Because what happens if their butt is lazy, then what's gonna happen, especially these muscles on the outside of the butt. This is part of your butt, by the way. Your gluteus maximus, it comes around, attaches right down here. Oh, believe it or not. All right. And these fibers at the low part of your butt are the most important for stabilizing your spine and your pelvis. Okay. And they're the ones that are skipped and missed in workouts. All right. Because people aren't doing the exercises the way they need to do them to target those. Okay. Also, the upper fibers of your hamstring attach right up here. All right. And that's also often not targeted right in workouts. So then what's happening is when people are running, I'm going to exaggerate, then their hip's doing this. All right. Well, what's going to happen if my hip does this? Well, what's going to happen if my hip is doing this is my IT band is going to get taut. It's going to get taut. Right? People think it's tight. No, it's taut. It's getting stretched like crazy. All right. What's going to happen here? Well, my adductor is going to get really tight because you know why? Because if my hip is doing this, my femur is going to turn inward. Your femur is your thigh bone. My femur is going to turn inward. That's going to make my adductor muscles get short because they're doing this. Okay. That's going to make my knee go, ow. I'm going to have knee pain. All right. I might also have hip pain. I might have pain up here in the hip. Okay. I also might have pain back here. And I might have back pain too. Not realizing it's all because I have a lazy butt. Okay. And then what I might be doing is rolling out my IT bands, going, oh, my IT bands. Oh, they're always tight. No, they're not. They're taut. All right. And then I might be going, oh, I got to stretch my hip flexors. My hip flexors are always tight. It's like, no, they're not. They're taut. You know why the hip flexors are feeling tight? It's because they're exhausted. Hip flexors are exhausted because you know what balances your hip flexors? That lazy butt. Okay,
You gotta get on it.
So if your butt is not as strong as it should be, and if your back muscles right next to your spine aren't as strong as they should be, because guess what? Your back muscles, they're called multifidi. I'm going to show you what they look like in a second. If your multifidi muscles are not as strong as they should be, then they're not going to work with your butt the way it should. And then guess what? Guess who helps? Your hip flexor. Okay, because your hip flexor is attached. See the green right here? So on the green parts of the spine, this is called your lumbar spine. All right, so it's the lower back. So your hip flexor muscle is attached on the discs. It's attached on the front of the bone, and it's also attached on the sides of the bone. Okay, then it comes down and it attaches on your leg bone right here. Okay, and your hip flexor is called your iliopsoas muscle. So the iliacus part of it attaches on the inside of your pelvis right here. Okay. And then the psoas part, it's on these bones and they come together and then they attach on your leg bone right here. And what they do when they contract is they lift your leg up like this. Okay. So the other thing they do is they help stabilize you upright, whether you're sitting or while you're standing. If your hip flexor doesn't work for you, then you can't walk, you can't sit, you can't stand. It's not going to work, right? Now, if the little muscles between these segments are not working right, then guess who else is on the outside of the segments? Hip flexor, as you know. So guess who's going to help if these muscles back here aren't doing what they're supposed to do? Hip flexor. Guess who's going to get tired? Hip flexor, because it's doing too many jobs. Okay. And then when it gets tired, when muscles get tired and overworked, we get trigger points. We get areas where it's clenching, and it's clenching because it's gotten so tired. It's like, I'm going to tear if you keep making me work. And then guess who helps? That shiny fascia, that stuff that can withstand 2,000 pounds worth of pressure per square inch. That fascia goes, I got you, locked down, right? And so people can actually function with super tight fascia and locked up muscles, but they're not functioning well and they're in pain. Okay, so we got to get the balance. That's what I'm trying to point out. So basically, if you're feeling like you always got to stretch your hip flexors, or you're feeling like you always got to stretch your hamstrings, then you probably have a lazy butt. You probably have muscles in the back that aren't as strong as they should be. And I'm going to show you what to do about it. All right. Sound good? Oh, okay. So let's move on to the next slide. All right. So I talked about this, how sciatica, sometimes it's actually just trigger points. It's actually soft tissue. It's fascia problems. All right. We're going to keep going. It's not a pinched nerve. Thomas Myers, if you have an interest in learning more from a more of a, like, if you're a trainer or if you're just a curious person or if you're a clinician, look at Thomas Myers anatomy trains, because he has a book out. He's got videos. I've watched him. I read the book. It's really influenced the way that they work, and a lot of forward-thinking therapists are using these concepts. The MELT method is based off of a lot of these concepts. I'm going to just share this one little piece with you, and then we're going to do something so you can experience what the magic of Thomas Myers' understanding of the body is. Okay, so check this out. So you can see on this picture here, we have a person looking at us from the front. We have a person from the back. So you've got muscles actually connected to each other through that fascia stuff I told you about, all the way down to the bottom of your foot. And actually, it doesn't show it very well here, but all the way to your eyebrows. So one of the techniques that I do to relieve people's back pain, because I'm a specialist in hands-on magic, is is I'll put my hand on someone's forehead when they're laying down, and I'll just tune in to that fascial line, and I'll do a gentle little glide down toward the eyebrows and tune it in to where the restriction is through the entire system, all the way through to the back. And I can relieve back pain by just doing a little technique on your head, your forehead. And it's because it's all connected. All right. So the good thing is that we can actually do that with the MELT. So that's why these MELT classes are really awesome, because they're based on these kinds of magic hands-on techniques. Okay. So let's actually do something like that. So you guys have been sitting for quite a while, and some of you might even have back pain stuff, so that's why you're here. So let's stand up. Okay, so we're gonna stand up. All right. It's been about 40 minutes, so it's time. You know, we should stand up every 30 to 45 minutes. Okay. All right. So then let's kind of spread out a little bit and find room so that you can actually stretch your arms out. Okay. Oh. I know. Yeah, we'll have to spread out a bit. Watch out for the movie. Don't let it get you. Okay. All right. So we're gonna stand up. So if you're online, you can stand up and follow along. All right. So I'm going to try to move where the online people can see me. All right, here we go. All right. So what we're going to do is just follow me. So we're going to be stretching our diaphragm. Okay. And why is that important? Because it's right in the middle of your body. And we've had a lot of research that has showed that if your diaphragm is tight, it's going to be putting pressure on your back and your shoulders and your neck. So if we stretch the diaphragm, it's going to help all of that. And here's a simple way to do it. You don't need any equipment. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a nice deep breath in. And as we take our breath in, we're going to reach our arms over our head and keep your knees relaxed. And then as we breathe out, just let your hands float down and bend your knees a little. Good. Then we're going to breathe in. Nice big breath. Breathe out. Float your arms down, bend your knees a little. And then breathe in. We're straightening our knees as we breathe in. We're reaching our arms overhead, but we're not locking out our knees. And then floating our arms down. All right. Now we're going to change it up. We're going to breathe in going up this way. Breathing in all that good oxygen. Breathing out and bending your knees a little bit. Breathing in as we go up. Breathing out, slowly floating your arms down. One more, breathing in as you reach up. And breathing out, floating those arms down. Beautiful. So that's a really simple thing that you can do. And it actually does a lot of good things for us. Another thing that you can do, because you can't always find a spot where you can have your arms going up and stuff, right? So another thing that you can do is you can always just take a breath in, nice breath in, and let your shoulders kind of roll back as you do that without coming up into your ears, okay? So you're breathing in, rolling your shoulders back, breathing out, letting them go. And I like to include a little mantra because I like to take on burdens as I go through my day. and feel responsible for people and things. And so what I like to do is check in with myself and just go, I'm going to breathe in. And then as I breathe out, I like to say, I just let go. I let go. I just let go. And you can put whatever mantra in there you want, whatever thought that helps you to let go. Oh, all is well, all's going to be well, So again, just breathing in and you're rolling your shoulders back and then breathing out. I let go. Nice. All right, so that's an easy one you can do anywhere, right? Okay, so now we're going to do something to help improve our neck mobility. So what you can do is just look over your shoulder, like you drop keys on the floor behind you. All right, and then come back and look over your shoulder like you keys on the floor on the other side. We're just kind of checking in and noticing. What do you notice there? All right. So any pain or problems, just notice. Okay, and then we're going to side, then move our head to the other side. Any pain or problems, just notice that. Okay. Now we're going to actually do something about it. So what you're going to do is take your fingertips, your magic fingertips. I'm going to turn them into magic fingers. Okay. And what we're going to do is put circles on the back of the head right here, and you don't have to push hard. Okay. One of the things people think about fascia is if this is strong stuff, I got to use strong pressure. No, not true. If you use strong pressure against your fascia, it's going to brace even more. So what we want to do is actually be very gentle and light with your fascia. Okay? And there's a lot of fascia back here at the back of the head. So we're going to be light pressure, light pressure. And if you're involved in the fitness industry at all, there's probably a lot of talk about heavy pressure, right? Deep tissue massage. That's actually not the best thing. You can do deep work with light pressure. Okay. Now we're going to come over and we're going to do some little circles on our cheekbone. By the way, this also helps your face look younger. So if you're interested in that, think of this as a 5-minute facelift. All right, we're going to go ahead and go right along your jawbone. So just fluffs up your cheeks. And it feels good. It's relaxing. All right, we're going to come up here next to our eyes, and then we're going to go over here and over our ears, doing circles. And by the way, you guys don't worry about Karen and her cough. She always coughs. She's not sick. 24 hours. 24 hours a day. Yeah. Oh, poor Karen. So yeah, we're all safe. Don't worry. Okay. Yeah, right. Weird. It's not trying to clean you out.
No, but I
don't want
anybody to worry.
Okay. Now we're going to go back to the base of the skull. And I totally messed up my hair.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. All right. Nice. Okay, now let's just check out our mobility. Does that get better for anybody? Try to check over your shoulder. Yeah, give me a little wiggle of your fingers. It's like, oh, it's better. All right, we did something, right? To help. Okay, so that's huge. Okay, nice. All right, so now we're going to do another exercise. This exercise is really key for helping people with sciatic pain, pinched nerves in their legs, pain in your back. Because here's the thing, a lot of exercises people are doing, they're just not doing them correctly. Okay. And so they're not getting out of it what they could be getting out of it. So if you know your balance is maybe a little bit impaired, then make sure you're standing near we have bars here you can hold on to. You can stand near a chair to hold on to. We have like a pole you can hold on to. All right. So, because what we're going to do is we're going to do this. We're first going to just stand on one leg. So this is an exercise that relieves. You're not, yeah, there you go. You're not going to want to miss this. This exercise relieves pain for people that have pain down their leg. And it also helps relieve back pain. Okay. So if you do this every day, it's going to really help. Plus, it's going to help prevent falls if you're concerned about that. All right. So we're going to stand on one leg. And what you want to do is make sure that your pelvis is balanced. All right. So a lot of times when I see people stand on one leg, all of a sudden they're doing something like this. Okay. And that's because of that lazy butt. It's because of a lazy butt. All right. So standing on one leg is actually a butt exercise. Okay. If you do it correctly, keeping your pelvis level. So some of you guys, when you do this at home, you might need to do it watching in a mirror for a while. And for some of you, standing on one leg like we've just done for as long as we've done it, you're already starting to have like muscle fatigue and ache somewhere. That's just a sign there's weakness. We need to do this more. So let's switch legs. And let's see, maybe on the other side, it's harder to hold your pelvis level. You might be noticing that. Some of you. Okay. And that's just an asymmetry. It's a muscle imbalance that we got to work on. All right, so then now the other level of this exercise is I see what you're saying to turn off the projector because you can't see me too well, but
Cover it.
yeah, we can cover it. That's a good idea. Yeah. All right, so what we're gonna do now, whoa, hi, right.
I can't figure out what you're doing with your feet. I can't see.
Oh, the feet.
Are you able to cover that?
No, he's saying the feet. So if I do it now.
Oh, you want to see my feet? Okay, yeah. Like that. All right, so we're gonna do some kicking the leg forward. All right. And then we're gonna kick out to the side. And then we're gonna go back. And then we're gonna come across. So here's the thing that people do that we don't want. They do these big movements. Okay. Right? And that's gonna irritate their back. That's gonna hurt their back. So even if you're doing it with a band, it should be small, under control, so that we're getting the correct muscle balances and we're not doing crazy compensations. Let's switch sides and do the other side. And Eddie, can you do me a favor? This was supposed to be recorded, but I don't think it got recorded. Let's just record from here for these exercises.
I started.
Oh, you did already? Oh, good job.
I think it's on this one.
All right, then we're good. Okay, so we're gonna kick forward. I'm so glad. He's smart. Yeah, he is. I'm coming across. Good. All right, and then we're going out to the side just a little. Woo-hoo. And then out and then straight back just a little. Just do 10 each. Do it every day. And so many clients report to me that their pain gets better just by doing it when they have pain. Because a lot of times people are having pain because they don't have the muscles turned on. Because we just need to turn them on. Turn them on throughout the day. There's a little plug for the like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, right? 5 minutes, 5 minutes. All right, so another common thing that people are doing. So I want to cover a couple common things that people are doing to help their back. And it's not actually helping. So everybody come sit back down if you want. Because I know that sit to stand, I think it actually helps. Sometimes standing too long is uncomfortable. So Eddie, we're gonna scooch ahead, kind of skip past some stuff so we can get to going. Okay, we're talking about muscle imbalances now. All right, so here, this slide here. So the muscle imbalances that are really, really common. People think they're doing these things for their back, but it's actually not really for their back, it's for their front, which is okay if you have enough back exercises to balance the front exercises, okay? Because it's true that you do need to have a strong front to have a strong back. But if you're doing too many things for the front, then your back's gonna be weak. You're gonna have problems. It's all about balance, right? So just a key to remember is you should do 3 things for the back of your body for every 1 thing for the front of your body that you do. And a lot of times people think they're doing stuff for the back that they're not. So here's an example. So I'm going to get on the floor. Actually, I can probably do it on this.
I can tilt the camera down.
Okay. So one example of this is, just make sure that everybody can see me okay. Let me know if not. So if you're doing a bird dog or called swimmer's prep, right? So you've probably seen, raise your hand if you've seen this exercise. Anybody seen this before? It's supposed to be for your back. All right. Now, what I see a lot of times is I see this in the gym all the time. All right. People are like, I'm going to get the most out of it that I can get. I'm going to get my leg up there. All right. Because they're thinking that's what's going to get their glute to turn on. And yeah, you're going to probably get a little bit glute activation by doing that. But you're also going to be crunching your spine together and irritating where the joints connect. And you're going to be locking out your spine using your ligaments for support instead of activating the little muscles that stabilize your spine. So a better way to do bird dog or swimmer's prep is to use a band. You gotta grab a band that's not connected to something. So instead, what you should do is get a band, put 1 loop on your foot, 1 on your hand. Okay. Engage your core. This is still very much a front exercise, but we can make it more of a back exercise by doing this. Now I've got some resistance for the back of my body. Also, I'm going to be keeping my foot low. The reason I'm keeping, and you don't have to do it up on a bench. I'm just doing this for you guys. So that might be scary, right? But you want to do it with a band and keep your foot low, because then that's what's actually going to target the glute and the muscles of your back. Another common one people think they're doing for their back is the famous bridge. All right, so give me a wave if you've seen this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't do it.
No, it's not bad to do, but I teach people to do this all the time, but the way I teach them to do it is the way you should do it, to really get the lower fibers of your glute, the upper fibers of your hamstring, and all those little muscles in between your spine that stabilize it. Okay, so this is how you should do it. You should push your feet into the surface and squeeze your butt. Okay, then you should also not have your feet as close as mine are to me, but that's just because I don't have enough space. You should also have, so you're pushing down, squeeze your butt, pull your heels back towards you without sliding them. That's going to engage your lower fibers of your hamstring. And what you're going to feel when you do that, and you guys can do it seated right now. Do it seated right now so you can feel it. So your feet are on the ground. You can sit forward a little bit from the chair. And you're going to squeeze your butt, push your feet into the ground, and then pull your heels back towards you without sliding. You're going to feel your pelvis tuck back. You're going to feel your back flatten, kind of round. Okay, you guys feel that?
Yeah.
Feel the pelvis moving, right? Okay, so that's what should be happening when you're doing this glute raise. Also, put a band around the outside of your legs so that you activate your glutes more, okay? And then when you lift up, keep squeezing your butt and round your spine all the way up, because by rounding it, now check it out, you're stretching these muscles in between your spine when you round. Does that make sense? Okay, so we want to stretch, and then on the way down, the most important part of this exercise, you've got to keep rounding your spine on the way down so that those muscles are being stretched while they're being put under force, under load. So to show you, you're going to be pushing down, squeeze your butt, pull the heels back, round up, and then you need to round down, squeezing your butt the whole time. All right, so that's the way you should do this exercise, so that you really make it a back exercise. Otherwise, it's a hamstring exercise. That's it. Okay, and guess who's already tired because of our lazy butt? Our hamstrings. Okay, so it's really important. And then once you can do it double leg really well, you can do it single leg, right? And why would you want to do it single leg? Because that's going to target the butt more. So a big problem people do is they don't do enough single leg activities. They do all double leg stuff. And the single leg stuff is really important for really targeting your butt. And also it's really important because of this fact. So the way your butt and your muscles of your back are, the way they work together is your left butt works with your right side of your back. Okay? So you need to be doing exercises that get your left butt to work with your right back. Otherwise, your back's going to be as strong as it should be. So you're going to have pain. So a really simple exercise that doesn't require any equipment is what I call the flying fish. So there's all kinds of variations of this. Your first variation would just be to lay like this, and you can rest your cheek against the back of your hand, and then just engage your abs, and then squeeze your butt and lift your foot up just a little bit. That's like a very basic thing that's going to solve a lot of people's back pain if they just do that. If you need to, you put a pillow underneath your belly. Okay? That actually is going to help right away if you have back pain for a lot of people. Okay? Then obviously there's all kinds of advances, right? We can do stuff like this, and we can reach, right? You know, we can add weights, we can add bands. Okay? So you can also do it standing and have a band in front of you, and then you can put like a little mini band around your legs, and you can do stuff like this. All right. So there's all kinds of ways to really specifically target your back. And then one of my favorites is you can have a band that's connected in front of you like this. Now, the easiest version of this would just do this. You go like this, pull, right? Now I'm working my glute on the left. I'm working my back muscles on the right. Okay. And you don't have to be very strong. Okay. You're going to start to move the needle. Obviously, you can make it way harder. Okay. So there's all kinds of levels. So these are examples of muscles or exercises that are going to really target the back of your body. Well, right? Now, another thing too is planks. People think that doing planks is good for their back. Well, it kind of is, but it's not if you're not doing enough things for the back, because it's really for the front. All right. So electromyographical studies have been done where they measure the electrical activity of your muscles. Okay. And they did it on planks, and they did it on the bird dog, which I showed you earlier. So if you really want to get your back strong, it's okay to do planks, but you also need to do stuff more like this, where maybe you have to start on your knees and you're engaging your core and you're reaching, right? Like this. And then another option, and if you would turn it down for me so that they can come on the floor. Because there's most of the people in this room probably can't do what I just did there.
Yeah.
Right? So, but what you could do, maybe, is something like this. Right? This is a lot easier. Can they see me? Is it bright enough?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And then if that seems daunting, because maybe you've got an angry shoulder or something like that, then you can do it standing with a band, or you're pressing out, and you can work your way up, or you can lean against a counter, and you can do things like that. Okay. So there's different variations. So I'm just trying to show you guys that these concepts of just remember when you do 3 things for the back of the body, for every one is really for the front. And there's ways to make things that are really front heavy exercises more targeting toward the back. And then keep in mind this, people think squats are going to strengthen their butt. EMG studies show squats really aren't a real big thing for your butt. So what squats more target, it's more balance and like core and quads and a little bit of butt. Okay. But if you want to make a squat exercise, really target your butt. One thing you can do is put a band around your knees, and then that's going to target a little bit more butt. Okay. Another thing you can do is make it single limb. So you would do like a partial, like sit down. If you have a high chair, a chair that's pretty high. I know I'm not a scientist right now, but if you have a chair that's kind of tall, then you can do just like a little sit down, right, into your chair on one leg. Okay. The other thing that you could do is you can do like a little partial lunge. Okay. That's going to get more glute. And if you're a little stronger, then you can do things like sitting down, standing up on one leg, right? That was hard. Yeah, you got to build up to it. Yeah, right. So it just kind of shows we got some work to do, right? But we just work toward it, and you guys can get there. I've seen everybody, people that they have trouble even just. Yeah, I love it. You're trying. It's so good. Yeah, everybody has they might start with it's just hard to even just sit down, stand up. Forget about a band or all that other stuff. You can start there, but you come to our small group classes here. We can help build you to where you can start doing even just like a little, like a good one too is to just do like a little toe, like a little heel touch. If you have balance issues, hold on to something, or have it near, but just a little toe touch in front, because that's going to get you started toward being able to be strong enough to do this. Okay. You guys can do this. All right. So I got to wrap this up. I can talk for hours, but we're going to go. Well, we're going to go ahead and keep ahead. Let's just see if there's anything I really want to cover. I think I've pretty much covered what I wanted to. This is just kind of a cool picture. Shows you what the muscles look like deep next to your spine. Okay. And then showing you, you're not taking my word for it, showing you your latissimus dorsi, the big muscle, comes into this fascia. See all that fascia? All right. And then it connects to your butt over here. And they work together. And underneath this is this. Okay. And so those are like all those little stabilizing muscles I told you about that we got to strengthen too. Okay. All right. So let's move to the next slide.
Planks.
Planks, we talked about that. Let's go. And this is your psoas. Okay, let's keep moving. And these are like the muscles in the front. Your transverse abdominis is really, really deep, and that's a key muscle that works with your little tiny muscles in the back that I was showing you. So we engage that, but everybody can do it here. Just go shh. Now try putting your fingers on your belly button when you do it. Go shh. Your belly button should move away from your hands. Okay. So if you make a sound, you're going to engage transverse abdominis more. So when you do certain exercises, sometimes it's helpful at first to get that engagement. If your transverse abdominis isn't working for you, then you're missing out on 30% of your total force production. So I'm constantly reminding people, belly button in when we're doing exercises. Is that right? Because you can totally do 4 exercises and not keep your belly button drawn in. Okay. Let's move to the next slide. Keep going. Keep going. And we talked about a lot of this stuff. The hamstring curve pelvic tuck, I had you guys do the double leg version of it. There's a single leg version. This exercise is really good if you're on a plane and you're having some achiness, or if you're sitting in a sporting event, having some achiness, okay, or whatever. So let's practice it real quick, and then this will be the last thing that we go around. Okay, so this exercise, we can kind of turn down that. Don't we have a cover for it?
That's the cover.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like
okay, I can deal with it, but can you turn on the light, please? It'll make it easier for people to see. All right, so so what we're gonna do is we're gonna sit and we're gonna stretch out our right leg, sit up nice and tall. And you can, oh yeah, thank you, sir. Woo, that's better. All right, you can do this exercise lots of different ways. This is very practical for a lot of everyday life. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna push your left foot into the ground, squeeze that butt, pull your heel back towards you a little bit without sliding, okay? And then lift your other leg off the ground and then put it down. Good job, everyone. Now let's put your hands on your pelvis, okay? And we're gonna do the same thing. So push into the ground, squeeze your butt, pull the heel back without sliding, lift your leg up, put it down. Okay, did anybody notice your pelvis moving? Let's try again. So first, just notice with your hands on your pelvis, notice where it's at. You can have your thumbs behind you, you can kind of pull your back that way. Okay, and then we're gonna push your foot into the ground, squeeze your butt, pull the heel back without sliding, lift your foot up, and then put it down. Did you guys notice your back kind of rounding into your thumbs? Yeah, good. Okay, because what that's doing is it's helping to get all those spinal segments to move a little bit and turning on all those little muscles that stabilize and turning on that lazy butt. So it actually refreshes your back. This should be called the back refresher exercise. That's what it should be called. All right, we're gonna switch legs. Let's try it on this side. You might have a side that's easier than the other side. So we're gonna push your foot into the ground, squeeze your butt, pull your heel back towards you without sliding, lift your foot up, put it down. Okay, notice how that felt. Let's do it one more time. Push your foot into the ground, squeeze your butt, pull your heel back towards you without sliding, lift your foot up, put it down. Nice. If you're really not able to stretch your leg out, you can do it without the leg part. You can totally still do, it's still going to help you. See how my pelvis is moving? Okay. And you can even do it like this if you need to. You know, if you don't have space to have your leg out. Yeah, I'm short. I'm short enough so I can kind of sneak my foot underneath the seat first. All right. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up right there. Just some ideas for you guys to think about, right? A lot of new concepts. It can be like drinking out of a fire hose, all the new ideas, right? And I would actually love to share more with you. So every month I'm going to be doing a workshop. Every month at the beginning of the month, the first weekend of every month. And so you guys are welcome back anytime. I love sharing information with people. The next one's going to be on joint longevity. All right, so.